Normal day.
Okay. So just teaching. What did you teach about
Yes,
today?
teaching to mark exams.
Okay.
Mark?
Grading exams.
Yes, grading exams. And on the afternoon, I went to the gym.
On the afternoon?
No, on the evening.
On?
In the afternoon, but in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's a mistake every day.
It's okay. Um, but good, yeah. So in the evening you went to the gym. All right. Um, and Ellie, how's it going? Can't hear you still. Maybe try it one more time, Ellie. Leave and come back. All right. All right. I think we're gonna go. Does everybody know what a siphon is? Siphon?
Hmm.
Any ideas?
Yes.
What's a
Aside
siphon?
from, okay.
Yes, it's to extract the sparkling water, and it's a it's a mm, I don't know, but physically think about it's possible to extract a fluid, no, siphon.
Okay, so a siphon is a way of extracting a fluid or moving.
Yes.
You could use a siphon to make coffee, I think. I'm not sure how though. Um,
For
so siphon.
sparkling water in Spain, unused siphon is a bottle with this structure to extract the water.
Okay. So in English, a siphon is kind of like a tube. So if you have a hose and you have
Mm.
a body of water that's higher and then something that's lower, a siphon can bring water up, and if as long as it ends up at a lower point, the siphon just moves a liquid from point to point. Um, make sense to everybody? Okay,
Yes.
so we're going to talk about siphons today. Um, okay, and so let's go and I think Heidi. Heidi, can you read the title and the question and the first part of the answer?
Europe water siphon. What if you build a siphon from the ocean in Europe or to Earth? Would it flow onto its setup? We have an idea for selling a bottle of Europe water. A group of Google search SREs. No, but I like where you are going with this.
Um, and does anybody know, well, Europa, the moon? Any
Yeah.
ideas? Yeah. So we're talking about Europa, which is this moon. Um, okay, I think that was good pronunciation other than the Europa, the first one. The second one was good. Does anybody have any questions here? Okay. And let's have Giulietta, can you read the next two little paragraphs?
Siphons are neat. They let you pump water up and over a barrier using just a tube and gravity. You can use siphoning to empty swimming pools, fill up awkwardly shaped containers, or get up to all kinds of trouble.
Good. And actually, instead of reading the second part, let's just read. Um, can you read the first half of this?
I asked some friends to suggest which things in their house they'd
Sorry. Come on. Okay, there you go. Read until collection. There
mention.
you go. We're not even gonna touch it.
Which things in their house they'd they'd be most upset to find someone siphoning water into. Answers included the spice drawer, gumball machine, tea collection, bottle of vitamins, watercolor paint set, bag of rice with a cell phone in it. No. Um, mind conditions. Instant organic connection.
Good. And let's have Ellie. Can you finish reading the list? Ellie, I still can't hear you. I'm sorry. Adela, can you finish reading the list?
Yes, carefully tuned musical glasses, ice hotel, prize-winning sandcastle, sodium action figure collection, gremlin cage, Martian soil sample, dehydrated astronaut ice cream, and rack of those water-sensing self-inflating lifeboats.
Okay. And astronaut.
Astronaut.
And maybe sodium action figure collection.
Sodium action figure collection.
And oh, we lost Simone. And Giulietta, can you repeat in English vitamins? Vitamins.
Vitamins.
Good. And yeah, in English you'd say vitamins, and American English it's vitamins. I think other than that, that sounded good. Does anybody have any questions here?
In Spain, one use the siphon to extract the petrol. When a car don't have a friend, maybe is a possibility.
Yeah, that happens in English or in the U.S. as well. Actually, pretty much anywhere. People siphon gas from your tank.
Yeah.
Gabriel, how's it going?
Hello, Joshua. I'm fine. Thank you.
Nice, good to hear.
Thank you.
Okay, and yeah, I mean these are just funny answers, I guess. And let's have Adela. Can you read this next little paragraph too?
It's not necessarily obvious at first glance, but siphoning works because of air pressure. Before we answer the Europe question, it may help to go over how siphon work.
Can you repeat Europa?
Europa.
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 Okay. How siphons work. Can you repeat siphons work?
Siphons work.
Okay. And I think we're good. And Heidi, can you read the next part and the comic?
If you take a tube full of water and point the ends down, gravity will try to pull the water down, making it fall out of both sides. If the water did start to fall out, a vacuum would form in the middle, since there's no way for air to get in to fill the gap. Each column of water would then have a vacuum on one side and air on the other, which means it will be pushed back up into the tube. Water,
Okay.
gravity, air pressure, vacuum, air pressure, air pressure.
Yeah. And can you repeat vacuum?
Vacuum.
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 Good. Okay. You guys have any questions here? Okay. No questions. All right. Reasonable. And let's have Giulietta, can you read the next two parts?
In reality, this doesn't happen. The air pressure stops the vacuum from opening up in the first place, and the water just sits there in the tube. Or at least it would if it were perfectly balanced. In the water, if the water in one end is slightly lower than the other, then the column of water on that side pushes down harder against the air than the column on the other side. This imbalance causes the water to tip and run out on the heavier end.
Good. Okay. So, do you guys kind of understand that? I mean, it's pretty much a siphon. So, and Giulietta, can you repeat? Then the column of water on that side pushes down harder against the air on the column on the other side than the air against the air than the column on the other side. Yeah.
And the column of water on that side pushes down harder against the air that the column on the other side.
Pushes down harder against the air than
Against
the column
the air,
on the other side.
Against the air than the column on the other side.
Okay. And so, like if we look at this, the air pressure is on both sides pushing up. And if there's more water on one side, the water pushes down more on the air pressure than it pushes on the other side, and then all the water goes out here. Okay. And let's have Gabriel. Can you read the next part and the comic?
To siphon something, you can just keep feeding more water into the tube on the higher side. As long as the surface of that water is higher up than the place where the water is coming out, the siphon will keep running. Heavier side falls down. Oh no, vacuum forming. Air pressure squeeze water up the tube to fill it.
Good. Which is kind of cool. So does everybody understand this diagram?
Yes.
Yeah.
One up, it says tip, the water tip.
Tips. So if something tips, if you've got like a maybe a tipping balance. So if you've got a balance and it tips, it's going from one side to the other. So this is a balance, and if it's tipping, one side is going down further. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay. And any other questions? Okay. And let's have Adela, can you read? Let's see how long these are. Yeah. Okay, can you read until vacuum and also number 4?
Okay. If the column of water is more than about 34 feet high.
Oh, read.
Yes, you can.
So 34 feet, and then read that.
10 meters to giraffe height. The pressure from the weight of the water becomes too strong for Earth's air pressure to counteract, and the water does fall out from both sides and briefly create a vacuum.
Can you repeat briefly?
Briefly.
Vacuum.
Vacuum.
And then this next part?
Although as the pressure drops, the water boils away to fill it, so you can't actually get too close to a pure vacuum this way. However, if you use something like olive oil or mercury, you can get much closer.
Good. Does everybody understand that?
No, but why does the water boil?
Okay, so what happens is it's in a vacuum. So if this is, imagine this is 34 feet high, the water falling will fall equally from both sides because the air pressure is not enough to keep the siphon going.
Mhm.
And so in the middle, where the water's kind of pulling apart, there's a space of nothingness. So it's a vacuum. And it's like what we were talking about earlier with the glasses. If there's like a vacuum on the bottom of a glass, the water will boil away in an attempt to fill the vacuum. I don't know the physics behind why things don't like vacuums, but if there's a liquid, the molecules will vaporize in order to fill it. And that's why if you use like olive oil or mercury, it doesn't boil as nicely or as easily. So the vacuum is much more possible. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. And so that's what he's talking about. So if you have a siphon over two giraffes, you can make a vacuum, kind of. Any other questions? Okay. Heidi, can you read this next part and number 5?
This means that on Earth's surface, you can't siphon water over a barrier that's more than 34 feet high. In Denver, where the air pressure is lower, the limit is 28 feet. In a vacuum, in theory, you can't siphon at all. In practice, it turned out siphons do work in a vacuum, at least a little bit, because the thickness
Stickiness.
of the water.
Sorry.
Thickness of the water keeps it from pulling apart in the middle.
Good. All right. Any questions here?
When you talk about thickness, it's about the water grabs in the surface of the tube.
I believe it's the stickiness of the water keeps it from pulling apart in the middle, so the water doesn't want to separate from itself. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
They stick
And
together.
if you actually want to go more into that, which I believe would be a YouTube video, this YouTube video, which I haven't seen. So this is, you can watch a siphon working in a vacuum, apparently. So I've given you the link, but yeah, if you want it, it's in the chat box. Well done. All right, and so let's have Julieta. Can you read until air?
Europa had barely any atmosphere, so you won't be able to do much siphoning. But you also can't siphon water out of the atmosphere from a planet in general. A column of atmosphere which is miles high pushes down only as hard as a column of water 34 feet high. The water column is smaller because water is much denser than air.
Good. Okay. That sounded great. Maybe siphoning. You can't do much siphoning.
Siphoning.
Perfect. Questions here? Okay. And so this is what we're talking about. Atmosphere, which is miles high, pushes down only 34 feet of water, which is why you can't siphon over 34 feet, which you kind of talked about earlier. And Gabriel, can you read the next part and number 6?
The water column is smaller because water is much denser than air. As long as the stuff on top is less dense than the liquid below it, you can't use the pressure from the stuff on top of siphon the liquid up above the stuff on top.
Does that make sense? It's a little bit tricky.
Yeah, a little tricky.
Okay.
And number 6.
Yeah, and so read half of this, give Juliet the other half because she didn't read until air. So yeah, just go until oil.
Okay. Most of the time, things sort themselves into layers, with the denser ones on the bottom. Occasionally, in the earth, layers of dense rock will end up above layers of less dense oil. This is why
Oh,
when oil,
let's have Julieta. Can you read the last part?
Okay, great.
This is why when oil well heats break, oil can sometimes come spurting out without any help from the pumps.
Wellheads.
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 We emphasize the first syllable, so wellheads.
Wellheads.
You're still emphasizing heads. A wellhead.
Wellheads.
No.
Say it
Say
again.
well. Wellhead.
Well.
Well.
Wellhead.
Wellhead. Good. Perfect. There you go. So when oil wellheads break?
When oil wellheads break.
Good. Okay. Better. Nice. And I think other than that, you guys sounded good. Any questions here?
It is wellheads.
It's what you use. Just get a picture. So this is a wellhead. It's like the top of a well that there's like pumps out oil, if that makes sense. And so yeah, so you've got the oil that's way down below, but the rock on top of the oil is heavier, obviously, than the oil itself. And so it continues pushing down on the oil, and the oil spurts up. So again, it's kind of the same idea as siphoning. Other questions? All right. Let's have Adela. Can you read the until gravity?
Even if you could generate a lot of pressure, pumping water from Europa's surface would take some work. Europa's gravity is weaker than Earth, which means lifting something up from the surface of Europa takes less energy, but it's still not easy. The energy required to climb out of Europa's gravity well is the same as the energy required to climb up 209 kilometers against Earth's surface gravity.
Okay, nice job with gravity there. Climb.
Climb.
Kilometers.
Kilometers.
Kilometers. Okay.
Kilometers.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
And let's have Heidi. Just to start out, can you read this part?
Earth's gravity well, by comparison, is about 6,379 kilometers deep. Click on this comic for an illustration.
And this is really cool, so I'm going to click on it if you guys are interested in talking about gravity wells. So you can look at each planet cut off and see the depth of its gravity well, like the escape depth, which is just super cool. You can look at it and read it on your own. I'm going to send it here. But yeah, if you're interested at all in gravity wells, you've got like the Earth here, the Moon here, and just like different gravity wells for different things, like moons like Ganymede and Io. Yeah, and right. So where are we going? Let's go back here. Nope. And can you read until Earth, Heidi?
Once you've lifted the water out of Europa's gravity well, you then have to lift it the rest of the way out of Jupiter, which is a lot deeper. Then you have to do more work to push the water on the trajectory where it intercepts Earth.
Okay. Maybe trajectory.
Trajectory.
Good. And other than that, really well done. Questions? Okay. And let's have Julieta. Can you read the next part until Koyugan?
In terms of energy, the whole task is roughly equivalent to lifting the water about 2,500 kilometers in Earth gravity. You could send the water to Earth by launching it from the surface of Europa at about 7 kilometers per second. Conveniently, since Europa has no atmosphere, you don't need to use inefficient rockets to climb up the space. You can launch the water directly from the surface using something simpler, like a coil gun.
Surface?
Surface.
Good. And I still am not exactly sure what a coil gun is. So if you guys want to look up coil gun on Wikipedia, feel free. The link he sent is not especially helpful. Or at least I didn't want to take the time to pay attention to it. So does anybody have any other questions other than coil gun? Okay. Oh, magnets. I believe something like that. Yeah, I think it's something that projects things using electromagnetic circles around a rail, and then it shoots it off, just using electromagnets, but kind of pushing it. I think that's what a coil gun is. Sorry, I did look it up. Any other questions? No questions. Let's have Gabriel. Can you read the next part?
Okay. When the water reaches Earth, it can use atmospheric braking to slow down, and the individual bottles could be steered directly to their targets. Timing the deliveries would be tricky, sure, but it sure would be impressive if you got it right. Plus, you could totally one-up Amazon's drone delivery scheme.
Okay, but it sure would be impressive.
But it sure will be impressive.
And totally.
Totally.
Yeah, you could totally one up. Okay, good.
Okay.
Questions here?
Does steered mean?
What does what mean?
Steered.
Steer.
Yeah.
It's like drive. So if you steer something, it's like you're moving it in a certain direction. Does that make sense? So we have a steering wheel, like in a car. Steering wheel is the wheel that you use to control the car. This is the steering wheel. Okay. And let's have Adela, can you read the next part with 7 included?
At current electricity price, the launch will cost a minimum of 50 cents US per bottle. Of course, getting electricity on Europa is probably a bit more expensive than getting it on Earth, or will need an awfully long cord.
And continue.
Sorry. And setting up the purification plant and bodily operation on Europa wouldn't be cheap, to put it mildly.
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 Mildly. Mildly.
Mildly.
Mildly.
Yeah, mildly. Okay.
Mildly.
And purification?
Purification.
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 Purification. And
Purification.
good. It's a bit more expensive than getting in on Earth. Okay, I think other than that, you did a good job. Any questions here?
What
All right.
does put it mildly mean?
It's like to not exaggerate. It's like to do the opposite of exaggerate. So if you're exaggerating, you're going way over the top. So yeah. And if you're putting in something mildly, you're looking at the smaller number, like the smaller possible number,
Mm-hmm.
or like the least exaggerated thing. So saying it won't be cheap is putting it mildly because it would be massively expensive. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So it's saying not to build a big plant.
It's saying that each launch would cost 50 cents per bottle. So it's not that expensive. If you're using a coil gun to launch it, it's not too expensive because you're just using electricity and magnets, pretty much. But getting electricity on Europa is more expensive than getting it on Earth. And that's like putting it mildly. That's like not exaggerating at all. That's being really nice because it's going to be way, way, way more expensive. So yeah, it's the opposite of exaggeration. So if you say, like if somebody fails something, you can be like, yeah, she didn't pass her test, to put it mildly. So if you're like being nice about something, because she did a really terrible job and she bombed it. Yeah. Heidi, can you read this paragraph 8 and the first sentence of the other?
All in all, you are going to have to charge an awful lot per bottle to break even now on this whole operation. And if it turned out Europa's water had some weird alien pathogen in it, you might accidentally kill all your customers. And possibly everyone else.
One more sentence.
And this may sound like your plan is pretty impractical and unrealistic, especially since there's no point to it all.
Since there's no point to it at all.
Mm.
Can you repeat, since there's no point to it at all?
Since there's no point to it all.
To it, oh, there's no,
Mm-hmm.
I was adding something that wasn't there. That was my fault. Yeah, there's no point to it all. Good. And Giulietta, can you read the next part?
Water is water. Once you have purified the water on Europa, you make it drinkable. It won't be much different from water here on Earth. On the other hand, we ship water around the world from Fiji for no reason. So who knows? Maybe with the right marketing, this idea could work. Europa water
Yeah, all of these worlds are yours. Europe and
are
I'm good.
yours. Included.
Good. And so yeah, we do ship the water all the way around the world from Fiji for no reason. Does anybody have any questions here? All right. And so that's it. It's talking about getting water from Europa. We could look at gravity wells and do read kind of about this, or we could look at another what if. Yeah. What do you guys think? Any ideas?
Restraining an airplane.
Sorry?
Restraining an airplane.
Okay. And let's have Gabriel. Can you read the title and the question?
If you wanted to anchor an airplane into the ground so it wouldn't be able to take off, what would the rope have to be made out of?
Good. And maybe just the first sentence as well.
The just cause to scenario.
Yeah. Okay. And let's have Adela. Can you read the next part?
At takeoff, 747's 4 engines can each generate 281.50
0.57 kilonewtons. Or I think it's
so
kilonewtons. I'm not really sure.
kilonewtons, maybe. Oh,
Yeah, I think so. I'm not really sure. I'm gonna look it up. I'm
I
sorry.
don't know.
Yes.
Is a measure of force. It's a kilonewton. Yeah, that's what I thought. Good. It is a kilonewton.
Of trust. I have no real sense for what the numbers means, so let's put in different terms.
And the next sentence.
747 with all-engine engines at full could roughly balance the weight of dangling blue whale.
Okay. A 747 with all engines at full.
747 with all engine at full could
Roughly.
roughly.
And yeah, that sounded good. And so this is a diagram of that. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. And let's have Heidi. Can you read the next part?
With all that weight, how thick would the cable need to be? Surprisingly, not all that thick. A cable a little over an inch in diameter, I would do it.
Yeah, and that's just the citation. And whoa. Heidi, can you read the next maybe two
That's
sentences?
You don't have a cable lying around. What else could you use?
In this one?
If you are into fishing, you might have a fishing line.
Good. And Judy, up to the next part.
Typical line for saltwater fishing might have a 50-100 pound strength, so it will take a brigade of several thousand people armed with fish rods to restrain the plane.
Brigade.
Brigade.
And fishing rods.
Fishing rods.
Good. And one more sentence.
If you don't have fishing line, there is one thing you probably do have. Air. No.
Good. And Gabriel, can you read the next two parts? Maybe.
While hair isn't as strong as steel, it's just about the strongest material in your body, with tensile strength revealing or exceeding that of bone. This tensile strength is why performers are able to hang by their hair at the circus. In fact, from a material standpoint, it's actually more impressive that performers are able to hang by their arms.
Good. Okay. And rivaling. Can you repeat rivaling?
Rivaling.
And rivaling or exceeding that of bone. Questions. Does anybody have any questions here?
What means rivaling?
Does anybody think they can explain rivaling?
Can be compared or distinct.
Yeah. So it competes with, it can be
Completely.
compared with, it's about the same or more than bone. Really well done. And Adela, can you read the next part?
This tensile.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Sorry.
It is
Yes.
tensile though. This tensile strength.
Okay. But is okay. This tensile strength.
Nope.
No.
So you got to read the next part.
Sorry. Based on this hair strength figure, a piece of hair 3 inches in diameter will be strong enough to restrain a 747.
Next one.
Hairs that big around are hard to come by, since most of us have many small hairs instead of one big hair.
Okay, so let's look at based
Based
and inches.
inches.
Diameter
Diameter.
and hairs.
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 Hairs. Hairs.
Hairs.
Good. Hairs. Hold on.
Hairs.
Yeah. Just goofy. Heidi, can you read the next part?
We need to get along a lot of hairs and bundle them together. Given that individual hairs can support about 50 grams of weight, we need roughly 20 head of hair to restrain the aircraft.
Can you repeat roughly?
Roughly 20 head or part.
Yeah, 20 heads of hair. Okay. And one more sentence, Heidi.
Conclusion: restraining a place with a cable would be pretty easy.
And Julieta, can you read the next part?
Further conclusion: blue whales are not typically covered by hair, but if we transplanted the hair from at least 20 humans' heads onto a blue whale, it would have enough hair to perform acrobatics at circus.
Nice.
Okay.
Kind of absurd. Okay, so also maybe if you read number 8.
Although they are mammals, most whales do not have a coat of hair like land mammals typically do.
Good, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of absurd. Does anybody have any questions here? Shoot. All right, so this is just kind of funny. Yeah, I guess we could talk about gravity wells because this is really interesting, and I bet you guys won't do it on your own. So, so let's look at this, and let's have Gabriel. Can you read the title and the first until gravity wells?
Gravity wells scale to Earth surface gravity. This chart shows the depth of various solar system gravity wells.
Good. And Adela, can you read the next paragraph? So reality.
Each well is scaled such that the rising out of a physical well of that depth in constant Earth surface gravity will take the same energy as escaping from that planet gravity in reality.
Does that make sense, guys?
No.
No. Okay, so if we look at
Yes.
this, like
It's-
rising out of, Go ahead.
It's a scale, no, about the different gravity of planets, or no?
Yeah, so it's a scale of like the amount of energy that it would take to rise out of the gravity well if it was measured according to Earth's gravity. So Earth is like the standard here because each planet obviously has different gravity, like acting on the surface. We're talking about Earth's surface. This is a constant variable that like the pressure on you is always going to be at Earth's surface gravity. And so this is at Earth's surface gravity, how long, or like how many kilometers it'll take to escape it.
Yes, and Jupiter moon, no? Io, Ganymedes.
Yeah, so we've got Deimos and Phobos, like these are moons, and so you're saying you could escape Deimos with a bike and a ramp, and you could throw a baseball off of Phobos. Yeah, but Mars is like still 1,200 kilometers for escape velocity. Does that make sense? Kind of. Was that well explained? I'm not a physicist, so it's a little bit difficult.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gabriel, can you read? Oh, Gabriel wrote Heidi, can you read the next little paragraph?
Mhm. Each planet is known cut in half at the bottom of each well, with the depth of the well measured down to the planet's flat surface.
Good. So again, confusing, but the depth of the well is down to this is the surface of Jupiter. Yeah, it's not necessarily especially important. Juliet, can you read the next part?
Planet sizes are to the same scale as the wells. Interplanetary distances are not to scale.
Nice. And this is a kind of cool information. Gabriel, can you read this next part?
Jupiter is not much larger than Saturn, but much more massive. As its size, adding more mass just makes it denser due to the extra squeezing of gravity. If you dropped a few dozen more Jupiters into it, the pressure would ignite fusion and make it a star.
Good. Jupiters.
Jupiters.
If you dropped a few dozen more Jupiters. Okay. And I think that's good. Does anybody have any questions here?
No, that's fine.
Okay. And let's have Adela, can you read this paragraph in here?
It takes the same amount of energy to launch something on an escape trajectory away from Earth as it would to launch it 6,000 kilometers upward under constant 9.881 meters by seconds square Earth gravity.
Meters per second squared.
Meters per second square Earth gravity. Hence, Earth's well is 6,000 kilometers deep.
Good. 6,000 kilometers.
6,000 kilometers.
Nice. And this is a cool little graphic too. Heidi, can you read this paragraph?
Hmm?
It might be a little bit small.
This is why it took a huge rocket to get to the moon, but only a small one to get back.
Good. Hopefully that makes sense. And this is kind of a graphic of what's going on. This is the International Space Station. This is a shuttle, low orbit Earth. So yeah, based on steady like gravitational pull, it'd be 6,000 kilometers. Obviously, 6,000 kilometers is not to space, but okay. Well, I think that's pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions about this. The sun is very, very far down. Yeah, kind of cool, hopefully. Was that interesting to any of you guys?
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. I
Okay.
like astronomy and astrology as well.
Yeah, me too.
What's the Neptune one?
Ah, the Neptune one. It's not especially interesting. And so let's have Giulietta, can you read the Neptune one?
An even more glorious stone
Awaits.
awaits.
Awaits. Awaits.
Awaits. What is awaits?
Awaits?
Mm-hmm. Wait. I don't know. Teacher? Teacher?
I think we can hear him.
Okay.
Maybe it's that time. Goodbye.
You go back.
Hey guys.
Hello, Joshua.
Yeah, sorry. So I lost connection, but it was right at the end of class, so I guess it's not the end of the world. Yeah, do you guys have any other questions or comments or thoughts?
What's the meaning of this expression? He's waiting for the dawn.
It's probably a movie quotation, but like an even brighter dawn awaits. It's like the future will be better, kind of. Excuse me, but I'm not really sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's probably a reference to a movie.
Mhm.
Probably somebody searching for life on other planets. It is a movie reference, Giulietta?
I don't know. I don't know.
All right. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming into class. It was good to see you guys, and yeah, I'll probably see you tomorrow if you guys join classes. But yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay.